Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. Today, we're diving into something that might just leave you speechless. You've probably seen a Bicentennial Quarter before, the one celebrating America's 200th birthday, but what if I told you that a few of these ordinary-looking coins could actually be worth a life-changing fortune? Yes, we're talking about 3 ultra-rare bicentennial quarters that have shocked even the most experienced collectors, with some selling for jaw-dropping amounts you wouldn't believe. So grab your magnifying glass, check that old coin jar, and let's uncover which of these patriotic treasures could turn pocket change into pure gold. The first coin on our list is one that many Americans remember seeing in their change, the 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Eisenhower Dollar. It's big, bold, and proudly American, featuring President Dwight D. Eisenhower on one side and the majestic image of the Apollo 11 moon landing on the other. But here's the twist. Most people have no idea that hidden among these ordinary dollars are a few rare varieties worth more than most cars on the road today. Now, at first glance, your bicentennial dollar might just look like any other old coin. A bit worn, maybe some scratches, that silvery shine faded with time. But don't let the appearance fool you. Even a coin in fine condition, it has the right minting characteristics, can surprise you beyond belief. Most of these were struck in copper nickel for circulation, the ones you'd find in your change or coin rolls. But a select few, struck in 40% silver, were made specially for collectors. And some of those carry minting quirks so rare, they can command 5- and even 6-figure prices today. Here's what makes them so special. In 1975 and 1976, the U.S. Mint didn't issue any coins dated 1975. Instead, every coin minted in those 2 years carried the dual date, 1776-1976, marking 200 years of American independence. On the reverse, you'll see the Liberty Bell standing boldly in front of the moon, a powerful symbol of America's heritage and progress. But the magic lies in the details. Collectors look for several rare traits: deep cameo-proof strikes, the 40% silver planchets, and those mysterious error coins that escaped quality control. Some examples show a Type 1 reverse with bold lettering, while others have a smoother, more refined Type 2 font, and that tiny difference can mean thousands of dollars to the right buyer. And then there are the true mysteries, the off-metal strikes and double die varieties. A few bicentennial dollars were accidentally struck on silver planchets meant for earlier coins, or show doubled lettering around the date and motto. Those are the coins that auction houses fight over. One such 1976's silver bicentennial dollar, graded in pristine proof condition, shocked collectors when it sold for over $450,000. Yes, nearly $500,000 for a coin you might easily overlook in an old collection. Now imagine this: an older gentleman in Ohio found one in his late father's coin album. It looked average, lightly circulated, but under magnification, it revealed a rare proof-like surface and a minor double strike on the Liberty Bell. That coin later fetched over $75,000 at auction. The moral? Never underestimate what's hiding in plain sight. Even circulated examples can hold surprising value. A fine condition 1776 to 1976 Eisenhower dollar typically sells for around $10 to $30. But if it's the 40% silver version, or shows any unusual error, that number skyrockets hundreds, sometimes thousands. And in uncirculated or proof condition, with perfect luster and no wear, values can leap into the tens of thousands. So if you're holding one of these hefty bicentennial dollars, take a closer look. Check for the S Mint mark above the date. That's the San Francisco Mint, where most of the 40% silver proofs came from. Look for that sharp strike, deep mirror-like fields, and any signs of doubling or unusual toning. You could be holding a rare treasure, minted to celebrate America's 200th birthday, and worth more than its weight in silver. Next time you come across one of these in an old collection, don't just toss it aside as pocket change. This coin is a piece of history, and sometimes, history pays very well. Next up, we move to one of the most loved American coins ever minted. The 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Kennedy half dollar. It's the coin that many of us remember from our childhood, shiny, heavy, and proudly bearing the face of John F. Kennedy, one of America's most admired presidents. But here's something that might just leave you speechless: some of these bicentennial half dollars, the very same coins that once jingled in lunch counters and jukeboxes, are now worth more than most people's yearly salary. Let's take a closer look. On the front, we have that iconic portrait of President Kennedy. The same design, first introduced in 1964. But flip it over, and you'll see something special: an image of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the birthplace of American freedom, along with the dual date, 1776-1976. It's more than a coin. It's a piece of America's story, struck to celebrate 200 years of independence. But, as every collector knows, not all coins are created equal. Most bicentennial halves you'll find in circulation were made from copper nickel, the everyday alloy. But just like the Eisenhower dollar, a select few were struck in 40% silver. And those silver strikes, especially from the San Francisco Mint, are where the treasure begins. Some proof sets contained coins so perfectly struck, with mirror-like fields and frosted designs, that today they're prized as miniature works of art. And then, of course, there are the rare errors. A few of these Kennedy halves were mistakenly struck on 90% silver planchets left over from 1964, a nearly impossible minting error that makes collectors' hearts skip a beat. Others show doubled lettering on "In God We Trust" or the date, or have off-center strikes where the design is misaligned. These are the kinds of errors that can send values into the stratosphere. Picture this: one collector discovered a bicentennial Kennedy half that looked a bit off. The color seemed different, a slightly brighter, whiter tone. It turned out to be one of those rare silver planchet errors, and when it went to auction, the final hammer price stunned everyone: over $500,000 for a single coin. That's $500,000 for a piece of metal most people overlook as pocket change. Even more shocking, 2021, a pristine 1976S silver-proof Kennedy half-graded PR70, that's absolute perfection, sold for nearly $15,000, and several rare die varieties have crossed the $100,000 mark in private sales. Those numbers don't even sound real, but they are. And the reason is simple: rarity, condition, and story. Now, let's talk about condition, because your coin's grade changes everything. A fine condition bicentennial Kennedy half like the one we're talking about might bring $5 to $15, depending on where. But in brilliant uncirculated shape, or if it's the 40% silver version with the strong strike and mirror-like finish, the value jumps dramatically. And if you find an error, even a small one like a doubled die or missing mint mark, you could be looking at hundreds or thousands of dollars instantly. Collectors should look for the S mint mark just below Kennedy's neck. That's the San Francisco Mint, which made the silver proofs. If your coin lacks the usual copper edge and instead has a clean silver tone all the way through, that's another clue you might have the 40% silver version. And if the details of Independence Hall are extra sharp, with frosted relief and glassy background fields, you could be holding something truly rare. It's amazing how a coin that once sat forgotten in a drawer or passed through generations can suddenly be worth a small fortune. Every bicentennial Kennedy half tells a story of pride, memory, and American history, and some tell a story of unexpected wealth. So the next time you come across one, don't just admire the design. Examine it closely. Check the edge, the mint mark, and the surfaces. You never know. You might be looking at one of the rarest half dollars ever made, one capable of changing your life in the blink of an eye. And finally, we arrive at the coin that started it all. The one almost every American has seen, touched, or maybe even still has tucked away in an old jar somewhere. The 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Washington Quarter. It might look like an ordinary piece of pocket change, but don't blink, because a few of these patriotic quarters have sold for prices so unbelievable, they've left seasoned collectors speechless. At first glance, this coin feels familiar: George Washington's proud profile on the obverse. The same image we've known since 1932. But flip it over, and you'll see something truly special. A colonial drummer boy standing tall, with a torch surrounded by 13 stars, a design created just for America's 200th birthday. It's not just a coin. It's a time capsule of American pride and freedom, struck at the height of our bicentennial celebration. Now here's where things get interesting. The vast majority of these quarters were made from copper nickel and circulated heavily. You've probably seen hundreds of them over the years. But a small number struck in 40% silver were made specifically for collectors at the San Francisco Mint. Those coins, especially in pristine proof condition, are already worth far more than face value. But the true treasures? They're the rare errors and experimental strikes that almost no one knew existed. One of the most famous discoveries came from a collector in Massachusetts who, in 2019, found what looked like an ordinary bicentennial quarter in his grandfather's belongings. When it was examined, experts realized it had been struck on a silver planchet intended for Eisenhower dollars. The weight, the sound, and even the toning were different. That mistake, a wrong planchet strike, sold at auction for an eye-popping $450,000. Yes, nearly $500,000 for a quarter that shouldn't have existed, and that wasn't the only one. Another bicentennial quarter struck on a 40% silver planchet fetched over $120,000 in a private sale, while rare, doubled die obverse examples showing ghosted, doubled lettering around "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" have brought in tens of thousands more. Even small off-center strikes or missing mint marks can command four-figure prices among dedicated collectors. Now, for those of you holding one in fine condition, maybe the details are worn, the drummer's drum faint, the stars a little smooth. Don't worry. Even circulated examples have collector interest, usually worth between $5 and $20, depending on the mint mark. But if your coin shows the S mint mark and has that solid silver edge, it's time to get it checked. A genuine 40% silver bicentennial quarter in mint condition can easily reach $10,000 to $25,000, and with rare errors or high-grade proofs, the sky's the limit. Here's what to look for. Check the edge first. If it shows no copper line, it could be silver. Examine the drummer's hat, drumsticks, and torch flame. Sharp, crisp details with reflective fields often indicate a proof or special strike. And for those truly rare errors, a jeweler's loupe or magnifier can reveal doubling, die cracks, or planchet differences that make all the difference between pocket change and a fortune. Think about it. A coin millions of Americans used every day, now hiding in collections, drawers, and jars across the country, with a handful secretly worth as much as a brand new home. It's discoveries like these that keep collectors searching, hoping, and dreaming that the next coin they pick up might just change everything. So the next time you spot that drummer boy quarter, don't brush it off. Take a closer look. The clues might be right there in your hands. Because the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter isn't just a celebration of history. It's a symbol of hidden wealth, patience, and pure American luck. And that's why we love this hobby. You never know what treasures are hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this journey through the bicentennial treasures of America, don't forget to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries. Every week, we uncover the stories, secrets, and shocking values behind the coins you already own. Because sometimes, history really is worth a fortune.